Well, Glenn Greenwald has a pretty interesting piece over at salon.com. I suggest you read the entire thing. But I'll read you some pertinent paragraphs. As for the related Obama defense, that the way this bill was crafted fulfilled his campaign promises, because he said he would include these industries, namely big pharma, the health insurance industry, hospital associations, and so on, at the table. Please. It's true that Obama did say that, and that this clearly meant he intended to try to accommodate some of their concerns so that they didn't wage a jihad against this bill. That's fair enough. But it's also true that he repeatedly railed against Washington's practice of crafting bills by negotiating in secret with lobbyists and industry interests, and his whole "I'll put these negotiations on C-SPAN" promise was specifically designed, he said, to prevent a healthcare bill from being negotiated based on secret deals with the healthcare and pharmaceutical industries. But that's exactly how he ended up negotiating this bill, using the exact secret processes that he railed against and he swore he would banish. Namely, the White House had agreed in secret, and this has now all come out, with healthcare industry representatives, and that there would be no public option in the final bill, even as the president publicly feigned support for it and pretended to be fighting for it. In other words, this bill was negotiated using the standard, secret, sleazy beltway lobbyist industry practices that candidate Obama frequently condemned and vowed to defeat. And these industries extracted such huge benefits as a result of these secret deals, a bill shaped to their liking and profit objectives, that they're essentially all in favor of it. For almost a full year, scores of progressive House members vowed publicly and unequivocally that they would never support a health care bill without a robust public option. They collectively accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars based on this pledge. Up until a few weeks ago, many progressive opinion leaders, such as Marcos Militias, Howard Dean, and others, were insisting that the Senate bill was worse than the status quo and should be defeated. But now, all of those progressive House members are doing exactly what they swore that they would never do: vote for a health care bill with no public option. And virtually every progressive opinion leader is not only now supportive of such a bill, but vehemently so. In other words, exactly what Rahm Emanuel said would happen: ignore the progressives, we don't need to give them anything because they'll fall right into line, is exactly what happened. Amazingly, now one finds posts on the front page of Daily Kos, not by Marcos, demanding that progressives repeat this behavior on every bill in the future. Whatever that final position is, was a comment, whatever that final position is, it will then be the job of the progressive to evaluate it strictly on the merits of what it is, rather than what it could have been. And if that's what it is even incrementally better than what we have right now, then it should be supported. That sounds exactly like the rationale of capitulating Democratic officials of the last 2 decades, not what the blogosphere was ostensibly devoted to promoting. Why would anyone in Washington, surrounded by powerful lobbyists and people whose threats are actually credible, ever take seriously or listen to a person who thinks and behaves this way? I'll support anything if you want to even if you want to ignore me, as long as I get just a little crumb, and even proudly announces it in advance. They never would listen to such a person, and they don't, because that's the sure path to self-imposed irrelevance. And Greenwald goes on to say, again, whether progressives are doing the right thing by changing their minds and supporting the health care bill is a separate question from the one that I'm actually discussing here. What is not reasonable is to pretend that Rahm Emanuel wasn't right when about his core assumption about progressive behavior. Nobody likes to acknowledge their own powerlessness, but no good can come from shutting one's eyes and pretending it isn't true. It's a genuine problem that the threats and demands of progressives, for lack of a better term, Greenwald says, aren't taken seriously at all, and will be taken even less serious from now on. Facing that problem is a prerequisite to finding a way to solve it. And yes, the White House did negotiate in secret a quid pro quo. A quid pro quo deals with the hospital insurance industry and big pharma based on the premise that there would not be a public option in the final bill.